Australia is consistently one of the largest producers and exporters of gold in the world. In 2013, ranking second just after China and the United States in the third. The darkest countries on the map are those with the greatest amounts of gold production. Western Australia has a great deal of gold available with help of mining.
So what is gold? Gold is a malleable metal that has a great deal of monetary and cultural value throughout the world. It is used for money and exchange, as well as jewelry, electronics, and even commercial chemistry. Its value is measured then qualitatively and quantitatively. In US dollars, the cost of gold has skyrocketed. In 1999, gold cost about $290 an ounce, whereas today it can cost up to $1,300 an ounce. That's pretty crazy, and it makes the mining industry even more important to show how finite certain resources are, and fluctuation in demand and supply can be unstable in any economy. We place prices and value on resources, turning them into commodities. And we can say without a doubt that gold is a very valuable commodity today.
In 1851, a man named Edward Hargreaves discovered a grain of gold in a water hole in southeastern Australia known as New South Wales. This was the beginning of the Australian gold rush that swept the nation and brought in lots of people hoping to test their luck in the search for wealth. Hargreaves saw many similarities between the California gold fields that were so exciting in the United States and these new areas found in Australia. He went on to report the area gained wealth and credit for the discovery, and thus how the area was a new land for gold rushing. The place in which he found this gold was named Orford, and a mere 4 months later there were nearly 1,000 prospectors in and around it.
Immigration to Australia was huge at this time, and was of course related directly to the gold rushes. In 1852, 370,000 immigrants were documented coming to Australia, and it was no surprise that the economy grew side by side the population. The population of Australia grew from 430,000 in 1851 to 1.7 million in the next 20 years. In the 1850s, Victoria, Australia, another state in the southeastern region of the country, contributed to more than a third of the world's gold output, and its population had grown 7-fold. Where Hargreaves had originally found the first traces of gold, yielded 26.4 tons of gold in the following year of 1852. This great discovery and immense wealth being found in Australia sparked more gold rushes and incentives to find gold all over southern Australia. Gold began popping up in areas around Melbourne and other Victorian cities.
Mining and the gold rushes were one of the most economically, culturally, and environmentally impactful happenings in the entirety of Australian history, especially up until the 1900s. Today, gold mining is still a large industry in Australia. Now it is mostly found in the southwestern part of the country. This is where we can find one of the largest open-pit mines in the entire world, and definitely the largest in Australia by far.
This open-pit mine is called the Kalgoorlie Super Pit, or the Super Pit Gold Mine. This mine is approximately 3.5 kilometers long, or 2.2 miles, 1.5 kilometers, just under 1 mile wide, and 570, or about a third of a mile, deep. For scale, we can see this picture that has many homes side by side the mine. It opened over 100 years ago in 1893 and has a projected life, or time in which it will continue to produce gold, of another 16 years. In 2009, the mine produced about 690,000 ounces. It is still expanding today, and even at its massive size, will continue to grow as long as they continue to find gold.
What does this really mean? Mining, especially open-pit mining, is a very invasive and environmentally taxing process. In order to produce the large amounts of gold needed and expected from a mine, there has to be even larger amounts of rock and ore. This involves the exposure of many geological formations and rock beds that have been buried for centuries. The exposure could lead to unknown release of toxins. Also, all of the leftover tailings, basically anything that isn't gold that you want, have to go somewhere, and this causes pollution on every land, in water and air especially. Mining is dangerous to its workers as well. The super pit runs 24/7, 365 days a year. That's a lot of workers, and that's a lot of hazard.
All in all, mining is an extremely important piece of the Australian economy at the micro and macro levels. However, like anything, it must be evaluated based on its environmental and social costs compared to this economic gain. We feel that Australia has done a good job of this process, but when will the stripping and hurting of the land for finite and unrenewable resources end. Sustainability needs to continue to be a priority.